Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
I've got a question from Tyrion Banks. Mr. Banks, I've got 4 history books. Besides Heritage, I've got the early years and Reflections Part 1 and Part 2. Reflections Part 1 has received multiple 5-star reviews and is currently being reviewed by one of the big publishing houses for possible copyright acquisition. This is Reflections Part 1. That's received multiple 5 stars. And this is Reflections Part 2. I'm expecting some good comments about Reflections Part 2. And also, Heritage is currently being reviewed for a possible movie. There's a media company that is currently reviewing Heritage for a possible movie or TV series. So I'm very excited about that. I could hear from the media company today. So needless to say, I'm excited about that. I hope we've got more questions coming in. Chad Warren, and I must say, as the event is coming to an end, I still miss this. Looks like I'm getting a phone call from Reader's Magnet. Hello. Hello, Bob. Well, yeah, right now. Okay. Yeah, that's Bob, my old buddy from Reader's Magnet, calling me during my live time on Storytellers. Good morning, Bob Montgomery. How are you, Bob? Bob wants to know why I made Reflections into two parts. It was because of the amount of material, Bob. I thought there was too much material for one book. And hopefully there will also be a Reflections Part 3. I've started on it. And it's going to take a while. Hopefully it'll be published sometime this summer or fall. I should tell everyone that Heritage and Early Years are available at Reader's Magnet or Amazon, and Reflections Part 1 and Part 2 are available at Writer's Branding. Writer's Branding is out of New Jersey. Reader's Magnet is out of California. And you can get the Reflections Part 1 or Part 2 from Writer's Branding or Amazon. I enjoy the questions. I'd rather be answering questions than just talking. I plan on 6 total books. I've got 4 now. I plan on publishing Reflections Part 3 this year, and next year I'll try to finish the Sad Papaw series with my 6th and final book. My final book will be more like a novel. It will begin with the origins of my surname that go back to Germany, all the way back to the days of the Roman Empire. And I'll come up through the history of my family into the colonial days when they arrived in America. I've got Jessa saying hi, Kenny. Hello, Jessa. Jessa Felton. Ethan Lee. I think it's my first time here. I'm interested in to know about your history books. Ethan, the books are available at Reader's Magnet or Amazon. That would be Heritage or Early Years, available at Reader's Magnet, and Reflections Part 1 and Part 2 available at Writer's Branding or Amazon. Bob Montgomery wants to know if I plan on writing anything current in my life. As I said just a few seconds ago, Bob, if I do my 6th book next year like I plan, I will go into details of my adult life, my career as an iron worker, and a lot of other things that were going on in my life as I was became an adult. Here's Kay Harshaw. Good day, Kenny. It's nice to be back. Hello to you, Kay. Jessa wants to know if these are memoirs. The first 2 are. Early Years is a sequel to Heritage. This is on the back cover of Early Years. This photo, that's me in 1967, and it is probably my favorite photo of all time. I'm not photogenic, I never was, but I do like that photo. This is the sequel to Heritage. That's my little brother's first grade picture on the right. He was tragically killed in 1965. And that's me on the left. And the little girl, I didn't know her at the time, but she was my future wife. That was Rhonda Curran when she was 8, 9 years old. So Early Years is a sequel to Heritage, and they are about me and my ancestors. But Reflections 1 and 2 are about more general history. I was raised in the 50s and 60s, the days when rock and roll began and when drag racing began. And it was a wonderful time to be a teenager. So I like to write about the TV series, the movies of the 50s and 60s. Of course, Vietnam was a tragedy during the 60s. Without Vietnam, the 60s would have been easily the greatest decade in American history, other than our battle with Great Britain to become a country. So the first two books are mainly about me and my ancestors, and then Reflections 1 and 2, more general history. World War II. I was always an enthusiast about World War II, especially the Pacific Theater. One of my favorite movies was Midway. I believe that was a 1977 production. Okay, we've got Judith Barton. I'm excited to learn that your books are being checked out by media companies. Thank you, Judith. And like I said, I could find out something today. When I sent some information to the media company, they said it would only take about 48 hours to get back with me on whether they were interested in making Heritage into a movie or TV series. There's so much to Heritage. In the early years, I believe a TV series would be more appropriate. But of course, it's possible to have a movie and a TV series out of the same book. So I'll just have to wait and see. I think I'm supposed to be on again Friday on Storytellers, and maybe I'll have some updated news by Friday. And hopefully by Friday, I hear about the big publishing house that is currently reviewing Reflections Part 1. I stated earlier that Reflections Part 1 and Heritage have received multiple 5 stars. One of the reviewers of Reflections Part 1 stated that he couldn't wait to get his hands on Reflections Part 2. So I hope I have the same success with Reflections Part 2 as Reflections Part 1. I'll show everybody. This is the cover of Reflections Part 2. That was one of my childhood heroes, Mickey Mantle, the legendary New York Yankee. And then we've got Alfred Hitchcock on the left. He had a TV series in the 50s and 60s that I watched, and I was very impressed with Alfred Hitchcock and his programs. On the lower right is one of my favorite rock bands of the 60s, the Monkees. And the little dog, she was a World War II hero. Very interesting story. So this is Reflections Part 2. I think everyone would enjoy it. Peggy Davis says, any advice on how to write family memoirs? Peggy, my preference is I try to write everything in chronological order. I know a lot of the TV programs and movies nowadays, they go forward, they start forward and then they go backwards, but I don't much care for that. I like to write everything in that's a tough word, in the history, in the order of their history. So that's the way I like to write. Now, as far as anyone else writing about their family, it's with the technology nowadays, with the ancestral things that are available on the internet, it's a lot easier to look into someone's ancestors than it was 20, 30 years ago. Much easier. And I would advise getting in touch with relatives. I had 3 cousins that helped me a lot in the writing of heritage. So I guess my main advice about writing memoirs and things about ancestors would be to get in touch with family members. And I think photos are always very good. I like to have photos in my books, and I try to choose good photos. Here's Debbie DeWeese. She's saying, looking back, what's your fondest memory as a child? Whoa, that's a broad question, Debbie. My favorite memory as a child, I don't know. I guess it would be the times that I spent farming in the watermelon and cantaloupe fields with my grandpa. I guess those would be the favorite memories, and also helping grandpa to feed the cattle during the wintertime. My grandpa was a great inspiration for me. I need to show everybody a photo of grandpa. This is heritage, and that's grandpa in his World War I uniform. You can see that that is a uniform that he's wearing. That's from World War I. And I guess that would have to be right at the top of childhood memories, the times that I spent with grandpa. He was a great man, hard worker, very successful. During the 1930s, when people were leaving Oklahoma because of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, grandpa was successful enough on his farm that he actually had hired hands. He was helping other families during the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. Here's Ethan Lee again. Hi, Ethan. Here's a question from Ethan. Do you see your children following your path as a resident family historian? No, Ethan, I am the only writer in the family. I have children and grandchildren that are interested in the books, but as far as writing and all the research that's involved, I don't think any of my children or grandchildren will be writers. Pauline Durgan has a question. What do you think are the most important takeaways from your books? Pauline, I would say the best things about any history books are trying to keep history alive. For me, it's keeping my ancestors' stories alive. I don't want these stories to be lost. I want my family heritage to continue in my family. I want other Harmons to know about our history. And that would be the main thing. Here's Bob Montgomery again. How do you feel that your family history will live on through your books? Well, Bob, that's pretty simple. Books are a tangible thing. They sit on the bookshelf. They don't really get old. You take care of them. A book will last 100 years longer. We know that there are books older than 200 years. I actually once saw on the internet a Bible from a foreign country that was over 300 years old. Here's Janet Abrams. If your books are going to be adapted into a movie, who among today's actors do you see playing you? I really haven't given that any thought. I have given thought to who would play one of my ancestors, the most famous ancestor that I have. He was as famous as Daniel Boone or Davy Crockett, but he didn't go into the history books and he didn't have any movies made about him, not yet. I've actually thought who would play the part of Captain Henry Harmon. Henry Harmon was described as 6'2" and quite muscular. And there's a story in my book about his physical strength. So I have given thought to who might play Captain Harmon, but I haven't really given any thought who would play me. Here's Kay Harshaw. Do you have a visual family tree included in your book? No, I don't. That's one thing that I regret. And if I have a future book, I plan on writing names like similar to what's written in the Bible. In the Bible, in the New Testament, it has a genealogy list going back before King David and then moving forward to the days of Jesus. So I'm going to do something similar to that in my last book. I've traced back to if I remember right, my 11th great grandfather in Germany. And I would list 11th, 10th, 9th, all my great grandfathers. I've thought about doing that, and I've got that list to do that. But the genealogy tree was something that I regret not having that in my book. And I do have a cousin that's very capable of building that tree. I should have got in touch with her. But that could be something for a book later on when I kind of do a revision of a heritage. Here's Tyrone Banks. You mentioned earlier that you're going to be live again on Friday. Is it going to be the same time? Yes, I believe it is going to be at the same time on Friday. I've got the link for it, and I'm almost certain. I looked at the link yesterday, and I do believe it's at the same time on Friday. And I prefer, this question hasn't been brought up, but I prefer to be interviewed instead of just being live and talking. I prefer interviews. Last October, I was interviewed by Kate Delaney on her radio program, and that was a very good thing because I've received at least 6 phone calls from different agents about the Kate Delaney interview. Kate has a very popular radio program. She's interviewed over 16,000 people, and she's interviewed some very famous people. And I prefer interviews rather than being in this format where I'm just speaking and waiting on questions from the ones that are watching and listening. I might also mention that Heritage was displayed in Frankfurt, Germany in October. Frankfurt has the world's largest book fair. That was in October. And Heritage was in the New York Times Magazine in December. I think that was the December 17th issue. It was either the 10th or the 17th. Let me reach back here and get this. This was, I don't know how well you guys can see that. Heritage was displayed in this magazine in December, and Heritage was also in the Manhattan book review. I believe that was in December. And I want to show you guys a photo of an actor. You can look him up online. He is Logan Crawford. I was interviewed by Logan Crawford. If I can get this on the camera. I was interviewed by Logan Crawford on Spotlight Network TV. And this was on my birthday just about 3 weeks ago, January 12th. Logan Crawford has been in he's an actor. He now works for Spotlight Network TV doing interviews. If you look up the bio for Logan Crawford, you'll see that he's been in some big productions. He made one movie, I believe, with Brad Pitt. But anyway, that was a really good interview with Logan. And like I said, that was on my birthday just about 3 weeks ago, January 12th. So there's been a lot of things going on in the last few months. Things really heated up after the Kate Delaney. You might want to Google Kate Delaney also. She's really a great interviewer, really good person. But after the interview with Kate Delaney, the activity and interest for Heritage really picked up. So that was a wise decision. I don't always make wise decisions, but that was a wise decision to go on Kate Delaney's program. I'm being told that I've got 1 more minute. I'm about to run out of gas anyway. But it was good being with all of you today, and I need to mention one more thing real quick. Heritage is available in audio. I purchased mine through audiobooks.com. Check that out. Heritage, audiobooks.com. It's very good. Very good. Matter of fact, I'll give you, if I've got time, I'm going to give you a few seconds of.
They swiftly rushed forward. They have the honor of taking their hair. At first, by the host of redskins surrounded, his well-pointed gun made them jump behind trees. At last, all slain but 2, and they wounded, Cherokee in the shoulder and Wolf in the knees. Great thanks to the Almighty for the strength and the courage by which the brave Harmons triumphed ere the foe. Not the women and children then intended to slaughter, but the bloody invaders themselves are laid low. May their generation on the frontiers he stationed to confound and defeat all their murdering schemes and put a frustration to every
That's a small part of the audio for heritage. Needless to say, that was during colonial times when the Harmons were trying to protect the settlements and forts. I need to also mention you can read the reviews for heritage on my website, sadpapawbooks.net. Sadpapawbooks.net. You can read 3 very good reviews about heritage. We should be about finished. I hope everyone tells their friends about my books, and I hope everyone will come back Friday and listen to me ramble some more. I'm being told to say my goodbyes, so goodbye.